unmute? Test 1 2. Test 1 2.
Good afternoon. Thank you all for being here this afternoon on Wednesday, September the 16th, for an update on Hurricane Sally. Obviously, Mississippi was very fortunate with where this storm came ashore. As we've talked about for the last 3 days, there was a lot of unpredictability or a total lack of predictability as to exactly where this storm was going to go. On Sunday afternoon, it was projected by most to hit Port Sulphur, Louisiana, which would have put us immediately to the east of the eye of the storm. And over each of the last 60 to 72 hours, that storm ticked east and ticked east and ticked east. And fortunately for us, in our state, the storm came ashore somewhere around the Alabama-Florida line. Obviously, there's significant damage in coastal Alabama and coastal Florida. Our hearts and prayers go out to our friends and our neighbors in those states. We did have some significant rainfall. We saw rising water, particularly in Jackson County, Mississippi. We saw a significant number of power outages, over 10,000 power outages in our state earlier today. But thanks to the tremendous effort of our power crews, our linesmen that have been out working even during the storm, we have those numbers down below 1,600 dwellings without power right now. Again, I can't thank those EPAs as well as Mississippi Power Company and their teams for what they have been able to accomplish over the last several hours, particularly Singing River, Mississippi Power Company, as well as Entergy. The fact is that we were very fortunate, but we also know that there are significantly additional storms, one of which is out in the Gulf near the Bay of Campeche. That's Invest 90L that we want to monitor very, very closely over the next 24 to 48 hours. And there's also several storms out over the coast, west of the coast of Africa, that we are monitoring closely as well. As I told you yesterday when I was here by myself, our Director of Emergency Management, Director Michelle, has spent the last several days on the ground in coastal Mississippi. I know he's made visits to Hancock, Harrison, and Jackson counties. In addition to that, he also helped, it was there when they opened the medical needs shelter in Stone County. This is one of those things that I just wanted to mention because it's another scenario in which Mississippi is a leader in emergency management and emergency response. Working with our State Department of Health, Mississippi is one of the very few states that have a medical needs shelter that can be opened. It has 150 total capacity in non-COVID times, 75 capacity in COVID times. We actually had more patients in it during this storm than we've ever had before. Although that was not a large number and nowhere near 75, we do have significant capacity there, and I'm very pleased that we as a state have that asset. And so at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Director Michelle and let him give you a perspective, having been on the ground for the last 48 to 72 hours in the Mississippi Gulf Coast region, and then we'll take questions. Director Michelle.
Thank you, Governor. I just want to first of all say again, to reiterate the governor's comments, we dodged a very big bullet with this storm. I want to first thank all of those on the Mississippi Gulf Coast that were involved in the evacuations. I want to thank you for doing the things that needed to be done to prepare yourselves in the event this storm had made landfall. The events that the Emergency Management Agency has taken over the last few days, I do not consider that a waste of time or effort at all. These were good events, a number of things that we've fleshed out and worked through that are all good results. I will tell you that we will be doing this again. As the governor mentioned to you, there are 7 systems out there right now, one of which, this system in the Bay of Campeche, we could be doing this again in a few days. So I just want to reiterate that to remain vigilant, do not take these actions for granted. This storm, as what the governor said, was projected to hit us on Sunday. Had it done so, we would have been looking at a far different situation right now. We're going to continue to remain vigilant and watch these systems and storms and be prepared. We are only just over halfway through hurricane season, so we've got quite a ways to go. Thanks to all of those with the search and rescue efforts that came down and deployed from other parts of the state. I want to thank the National Guard for the 6 composite teams that were stationed down at Camp Shelby and ready to go. Everyone was postured and ready to take this storm on had it been there. I'm very proud of the folks that I work with. Thank you, Governor.
Thank you, Director Michelle, and I will reiterate what the Director said in that I want to personally thank our partners at the federal level, at the local level, our state agency partners as well. We as a state were postured in such a way where we were ready to assist any Mississippian that needed it. In addition to that, I will tell you that I have personally spoken with the governors to our east and to our west and offered any resources that we can provide. We know in these challenging times it's about helping one another, and we have made those offers and will certainly, should we be asked to assist any of our neighbors, we will step up and do so, because that's what Mississippians do. Now, there was some flooding, there was high water on our Mississippi Gulf Coast. We had some damage that we are going to have to deal with in the coming hours and days, but by and large, we were very fortunate in this event. But we do want to pray for our neighbors, particularly in coastal Alabama and the Florida Panhandle. With that, I'll open the floor to any questions.
Okay, thank you so much, Governor. I have a question for Director Michelle, if I may.
Certainly.
Okay, I'd like to actually ask you a question too afterwards, Governor, about COVID, if I may.
Sure.
Director Michelle, you talked about that disturbance meandering down in the Gulf around Mexico, 70% chance of further formation over the next 5 days or so. One of our EMA directors down here told me he is actually a little concerned about that. How concerned are you, and what would your message be to the folks here on the Gulf Coast, especially with Hurricane Teddy and Tropical Storm Vicky still on the Atlantic on top of that?
Well, Dave, I appreciate that, and I'll go back to what I said before. I am concerned about it. I will remain concerned, and as I've heard the governor say a number of times, I'm gonna borrow his comment. I'm concerned about a lot of things. But that storm down in the Bay of Campeche, we had thought that it was going to, fizzle out and not do a whole lot. It has regained strength. The current track does have it moving in a northerly direction. Although it does not currently pose a direct threat, I am concerned about it. There is nothing that has really been long-range predictable that we've seen out in the Gulf. If you talk to the folks at the National Hurricane Center, they will agree that the unpredictable nature of the storms when they get in the Gulf of Mexico seems to have been heightened more even this year. To the other systems that you talked about, that wave that's coming off the coast of Africa, which is Invest 98 Lima, is also one to be concerned about. And the ones that are out there in the Atlantic, even Paulette certainly has the potential to come back, re-strengthen, and move back to the southwest. So we're concerned, but I want to reiterate this: we are prepared. Just much like the events that we did over the course of the last few days, they were certainly efforts in utility, and we'll posture again. We'll change some things, but I'm concerned, but we are prepared.
Governor,
Sure.
Okay, 711 new cases of COVID-19 today. On the heels of several days with considerably fewer numbers, I know it's prudent to concentrate on a 5 or a 7 day average, but after coming off some couple of days with lower numbers and then seeing boom 711 today, do you have any kind of concerns? What are you keeping an eye on, etc.?
Yeah, well, thank you for the question, Dave. And as you have heard me say, and as Greg has heard me say many times over the last 7 months or so, if your question begins with, "Are you concerned?" it doesn't really matter to me what comes after that. The answer is yes, I am concerned. You know, we're sitting here in the Tate Reeves Barber State Emergency Operations Center, and we've got a large number of people whose entire responsibility and job is to be prepared and to focus on these storms in the Gulf, to focus on our COVID response, and they're doing an incredible job doing that. You're right. When we look at COVID numbers in our state, we had a particularly good day on Monday with only 140 cases. We had over 500 cases yesterday and slightly over 700 cases reported today. As we were talking about it earlier, we are 9 days out from Labor Day, so it is possible that we are seeing a slight uptick coming off the Labor Day weekend. It is also possible when you look at last week's numbers, our Wednesday numbers last week were in the mid 400 range, so we're up about 25 to 30% Wednesday over Wednesday. But we also had a very large number on Friday of last week where we reached mid 800s. I believe it was 840, 850. And so I really want to wait and see where we are the next couple of days, compare them to the numbers from the week of last week. As you know, last Friday, our 7-day numbers had gone from a peak of 9,200 cases over 7 days down to 3,200 cases over 7 days. So our 7-day moving average was approximately 450 cases. That has ticked up slightly because of the number today. We're up around 480 over a 7-day average. Still under 500, which is still a very positive move. We're still seeing downward trends, but yes, we need to monitor this very, very closely and make sure that we understand. What we have seen is that most of the new cases are being driven in college towns, in towns that have large numbers of individuals between the ages of 18 and 29. That has been driving our new cases for the last several weeks. And we need to just, as we get more data and more information in, we need to monitor that closely as well. Yes, sir.
Governor Reeves, if states like Alabama do request resources to help with their recovery, do we have enough resources to give other states with this busy hurricane season? Like you said, we're only halfway through. Can we afford to help other states right now?
Not only can we afford to help other states, as someone who was here during Katrina, we have an obligation to help other states because we know that when times are tough, people step up and helped us. We're going to help, whatever it takes.
Thank you, Governor. Quick question. I'd like, as I've asked before, and I don't like to ask you or Director Michelle hypothetical questions. The hypothetical that I'm getting from a lot of boat owners down here on the coast is there have been quite a number of, occurrences that have happened, and as we are aware, there are quite more that could happen. What exactly do you tell those people? What exactly do you get to be able to say, hey, look, we can do this and it will be okay? That's more or less the hypothetical question I'm pointing out.
Sure. What I would tell you is since Sunday afternoon, I have stood at this podium and provided the absolute best information that we had at that time. We were very clear throughout the last 3 days that the unpredictability of Hurricane Sally was one of the more frustrating things that we were dealing with, because Sally was jumping around south of our border, and initially south of New Orleans and then south of Mobile Bay. And so we've just got to all continue to work together and work closely to try to deal with the challenges as they present themselves. Again, we were fortunate this time, and that's something that we hope will continue throughout the 2020 hurricane season. But given the results of 2020 in so many other areas, we've got to continue to plan for the worst, pray for the best, and expect somewhere in between. Well, seeing no other questions, I want to thank every single one of you for your diligence, for what you're doing to help get the information out to the people of our great state. We're going to continue to work together, and we're going to continue to protect one another, because that's what we're supposed to do. And so thank you for what you have done and what you are doing, and I'll see you again soon. Thank you all. Stay safe, and God bless.